Hi everyone, Bandana here. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a video covering the Wargames Fest on Steam. Today looking at some games that you really do not want to miss as a strategy fan that are discounted in this event. If there are any games you think I missed that are on discount, please let us know down in the comments below so people can take a look. Now, with the exception of one game, I've gone out of my way not to duplicate the items from yesterday's list with the demos, because there are some great games there as well. But today, let's focus on the released games that are indeed on a discount, and preferably a heavy discount. Okay, let's get into it, starting with a game that many of you will probably know already, and that is Crusader Kings 3. Can we consider this one a classic now? Possibly. It is the top seller in this event as it's just had a major update with a new core expansion. Obviously, that is separate and isn't on discount currently, but the main game itself is 70% off. You will love, fight, scheme, and claim greatness throughout your tenure in this game. Determine your noble house's legacy in a sprawling grand strategy where death is only the beginning as you guide your dynasty's bloodline in the rich and larger-than-life simulation of the Middle Ages. In essence, this is one of those Paradox Interactive classic grand strategy games. It covers a bit of everything, with the focus being on your dynasty and your bloodline. The entire world is simulated, teeming with various peasants, knights, courtiers, spies, knaves, and jesters, as well as various secret love affairs and other subterfuge going on in the background. And all of these characters can be romanced, betrayed, executed, or subtly influenced. And of course, as you rule over your subjects, there'll be plenty of time for combat as well as you spread your control. And of course, nothing says medieval times quite like a holy war. The game is, as I say, 70% off right now for the base game itself, and you can get 47% off the starter pack, which includes some DLC. And while it was originally released in 2020, it still has ongoing support and more DLC and updates planned for the ongoing year. Certainly a good game to sink some time into. Alright, next up, something a little bit different. We're going back to RTS or real-time tactics here with Call to Arms Gates of Hell Ostfront. For anyone unfamiliar with this series, think along the lines of the Men of War series or Soldiers, Heroes of World War II that came before it, where you can have intricate and realistic control of each of your units, including individual infantry. The game has a variety of options, including 12 historical single-player missions that can be played in co-op with friends, 30 PvE and PvP maps. It also includes PvE dynamic campaigns where you can develop your own army and fight an ever-changing war across a big collection of maps. There's PvP multiplayer, obviously, with various doctrines to specialize your armies. And when it comes to your armies, you can take direct control, as I say, of individual units, even dropping down into first and third person view modes. The game boasts over 250 vehicles and 100 heavy weapons. And that's without thinking about any of the DLC, and there are a few DLCs available, which are all currently 50% off, while the base game itself is a hefty 75% off. Okay, next up is perhaps another game that needs no introduction on the channel, and that is WARNO. This is an RTS/RTT, where you're fighting in a Cold War gone hot scenario. Currently, the game is focused around the battlefield that is Germany, though that may change with future expansion DLC. The game has plenty of different modes, including a set of tutorials, individual missions called operations, and also the Army General campaigns, where you fight across a massive battle map. Here you will move around pawns of your divisions, and then engage in smaller scale tactical battles, just as you would in a skirmish. There are also plenty of multiplayer options, including 1v1 ranked, up to 10v10 player versus player, and also the option to play against the AI. The developers are also leaning more into the modding side of things, and there is now a map editor available within the game, though they consider this still an alpha test. Currently the game is 40% off for the base game itself, but if you would like to get the base game and the expansion pass, or the Gold Edition bundle as it's also known, then it's 37% off, but this will include the already released North Egg expansion, the first and second Nemesis DLC they released, which are just DLCs including 2 new divisions, and then you will also get the South Egg expansion when it is released as well. Okay, next up is another personal favourite of mine, and that is Stronghold Definitive Edition, which is a huge 67% off, and the 2 DLCs that are also available are 30% off, which makes them a very, very cheap price of a couple of quid each. For anyone who's not played the Stronghold games before, the idea is you're building up a castle, managing your economy within that, and then probably defending that castle, if not laying siege to someone else's. I think the mainstay of this game is the story-driven main campaign, and also the new side campaign that they've added for the new Definitive Edition, as well as, of course, an economic campaign where you just have economic missions and don't have to do any combat. Well, for the most part anyway. It's a great game and it's an absolute bargain. If you've not played it before, I can highly recommend picking it up. Okay, next up is the one game which is appearing in both yesterday's video and today's video, and that is Regiments. Just because I never feel like this game gets enough exposure. Much like WARNO, it is a Cold War gun-hot scenario where you'll be playing as either the Pact or the NATO side. You can play in the single-player campaign, which is a preset list of operations effectively, some of which are very entertaining and have some interesting twists, such as one where there is a chemical release. There's also the option of skirmish style games, and if you get the recent expansion DLC Winds of Change, then there's also procedurally generated campaigns you can play through too. Though you definitely don't need the expansion to enjoy this game. Play with all the units you would expect, including infantry with their fighting vehicles, obviously tanks, goes without saying, right, artillery, and the option to call in bombers and other support abilities, including a massive missile. The game is reasonably priced as it is, and right now it's 35% off, making it just £15.46. If you're into things like WARNO or Wargame, then it's definitely worth a look. I highly recommend it. And it has a demo available, which is very generous as well. Okay, next up is something a little bit different, and that is Line War. This is a completely different type of RTS game where you have elements of 4X, war games, and real-time tactics all mixed into one. And as an additional sort of twist, you draw lines to tell your units where to go and how to set themselves up, in the sense of you can have lines that will tell them to march somewhere or travel somewhere, and then lines that tell them to dig in a defensive line. It still includes your RTS standard stuff such as collecting resources and base building, but then it's got this slightly unusual style of playing the game and maneuvering your units about. And I tell you what, it's actually a lot of fun. I have a video of it on the channel, so do check it out because it's such a wonderful game. And as I say, they keep doing these updates, adding new stuff, adding research recently, and then they've recently added locomotive, so a train with weapon systems on it. And they still have more planned, and it's always been included with the price of the game. It's currently 50% off and a very reasonable price of £10.49. And I would argue it's well worth a look. Okay, next up is another game I've covered on the channel and one I really enjoyed, and that's why I'm pointing you in its direction, and that is Headquarters World War II. It's a fast-paced turn-based strategy game. Can you have fast-paced turn-based? Kind of, I guess. But your battlefield tactics are as important as your army management skills. Experience both sides of the war, battling in Europe as the USA, the UK or Germany, storm bunkers, occupy houses and win tank duels. And yes, side shots and rear shots do help. I mainly played it for the single player campaign, but there is skirmish and also multiplayer if that's your thing. And there are also a few DLCs, though there's not much knocked off their price currently. The base game is 25% off. And if you're into your turn-based tactics and like World War II, I'd definitely give this one a look. Next up is a title I've not actually played, however I don't want that to be a reason that other people miss out on it. And that game is Battle Brothers. It's a turn-based tactical RPG which has you leading a mercenary company in a gritty, low-power, medieval fantasy world. You decide where to go, who to hire or who to fight, what contracts to take, and how to train and equip your men in a procedurally generated open-world campaign. It came out back in 2017 but has had regular updates and has some DLC available, but it is highly recommended by a lot of people I know, both other content creators and friends alike. It's currently 50% off at just £12.49, and you should get plenty of bang for your buck if you like your turn-based battle games. Okay, next up, how about some real-time naval action with sea power naval combat in the missile age. You may have seen me play this on the channel before. It's a really fun title where you are in real time controlling various ships, missiles and aircraft and engaging enemy targets in a variety of different mission types. And obviously in the final release there will be a lot more missions, additional ships, amongst other things. What I will note is that obviously being early access, some stuff just isn't in there yet, and they've had a long period where they didn't have any saving in the game, though it has recently been added, but it is only under a beta tag. So while it is 15% off right now, and I think it is fantastic for what it is, it could be that you want to hold off and wait for a sale further down the line once they've done some more updates. However, I definitely think it's one worth taking a look at and keeping an eye on. Okay, and the final game, even though they're in no particular order, isn't per se a single game. I wanted to just point everyone to the Total War series of games, namely the older games, such as Rome 2 Total War and Medieval 2 and even Shogun 2 Total War. They're currently on sale for quite hefty discounts, and I wouldn't recommend getting such old games at the full prices that they want to charge on Steam, but I think when they're discounted as much as they are now, those older Total War games are really good. You can even check out Napoleon as well, though obviously that one's a little bit different in its style of combat. For anyone unfamiliar with the Total War series, you play on grand campaign maps based on whatever region you would be in that era, obviously Rome being Europe and Shogun Total War being Japan. You will then manage your territory, build up your cities, manage and build fortifications, and also build your armies, which will move around the map as pawns and then go into real-time tactical battles outside of the turn-based grand campaign map. While some of the recent additions to the series have not been met with the best of reviews, the older titles are still quality products. Not to mention some of them have amazing mods. And that brings us to the end of this list and this video. Thank you very much for joining me. If you do have any suggestions of other discounted titles I might have missed, do let us know down in the comments. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all soon.